Hi, I'm Elkie, and this is how I started my journey. So I remember back in primary school, I was quite an overweight kid, and I was terrible at any type of sports. PE, gymnastics, it was my worst nightmare, and I was always the last person to be picked for any team sports. So if you ask me today how I got onto the stage, like I really don't know how I got. I know how I got to this stage, but I don't know the exact trigger of what led me here because sports was never my thing at all. And being an overweight child, I was very shy, and I hated kind of wearing shorts or hated anything that was tight fitting because I was really self conscious. And throughout most of my childhood, I was pretty overweight. And when I went to college and I was a bit more aware of body image, that's when I started to do kind of like all the stupid diets. I've done every single diet that you can think of. There's not one diet that I haven't done. And the sad thing about these type of diets is they never last long. You lose weight, then you put it back on again, and it's this constant yo-yo dieting that I kind of went through throughout most of my teens and my 20s. And then when I met my partner then, and I had my first baby, that's when the weight really piled on, and I mean really piled on. I got close to over 100 kilos at my heaviest, and at that point I didn't care because I was so big anyway. I avoided looking into mirrors, I avoided weighing myself, and I didn't care. I just carried on eating because I used the pregnancy an excuse to not care anymore. And I was pretty much not morbidly obese, but I was obese for a good 10 years, most of my late 20s and early 30s. And it was my friend, she suggested we go to the gym together. And I thought, okay, I'm not sure I want to do this, but I thought, okay, I'll go to support her. So I didn't really put myself in the picture, I'm just going to support her. And that's how the journey started, really, was when she asked me to go to the gym with her.
Looking back 10 years ago, what was life like for you before fitness?
We had a family restaurant, so I spent most of my time working. It was long hours. The kids were small then, so it was justling motherhood, work, and not much time for myself, really. And it was at the restaurant that's where I met my friend, who she at the time suggested, oh, let's join the gym because there's a gym just around the corner from the restaurant. And she said, we'll go together, you come with me, and we'll just motivate each other to go to the gym. And that's kind of how the gym life started, with me going to the gym with her. And I remember the first day we both entered the gym. We thought, okay, let's do a class. I thought, okay, sure, I'm up for it. Being naive as I am, the first class we decided to do was called boot camp. Bad idea. I lasted 10 minutes. I got a stitch, I got a headache, I felt dizzy, I felt faint. About 10 minutes I had to walk out of the class. And it's safe to say I didn't go back.
How did being overweight affect your confidence, lifestyle, or mindset?
I wasn't just a bit overweight, I was really overweight. And I knew it deep down. And I avoided buying clothes because when you're overweight, trying to buy clothes is a nightmare. So I ended up wearing a lot of my partner's clothes at the time. So it was like baggy joggers, t-shirts, hoodies, anything to kind of hide my body because I didn't want to show anyone. And I remember there's many occasions. There's one occasion where I tried to avoid going out and socialise as well because I didn't want people to see me being this overweight. But it was a friend's wedding and I had to go. And I remember clearly that day because I hadn't seen her for quite a long time. And she went to me, Elkie, how are you? Haven't seen you for ages. Oh my goodness, I didn't know you were expecting. I said, well, I'm not. And the look on her face, I still remember to this day. She was mortified because she was so embarrassed. She didn't speak to me for the rest of the night because she couldn't look at me in the eye. And so I remember that vividly, and I tried to style it out that I wasn't upset, but deep down, that kind of really, it's like when someone puts a dagger into your heart. Deep down, you know it's true, but you don't want to admit it to yourself either. And then there was another occasion because I was wearing my partner's clothes, so kind of really boyish, and we went to a restaurant to eat. And I think at the time the manager of the restaurant couldn't tell if I was pregnant or not, and I knew he wanted to ask me, but he wasn't quite sure. So he in the end he did ask me. He goes, "Is there anything that we should be aware of, just in case it might harm your baby?" I wasn't pregnant at all, but I carried on because I didn't want him to feel bad either. So I said, "No, no, I'm fine. Just as long as there's no like raw fish or soft cheeses, I'm good to go." So it's like little things like this that I lived with all the time, that I was really, really overweight. And in the end, sad to say, is you start to get used to it, and then you develop a skin where you start to ignore those comments.
How did lifting weights change not just your body but also your mindset?
So I was always the one to shy away from weights. When I first started the gym, I had the mindset of, oh, I don't want to get too big. Lifting weights is for men. I'll stick with the 2 kilo dumbbells. I would never lift anything more than 2 kilos. And at the time, I met a trainer there, and he encouraged me to use weights. At first, I resisted. I would never even go into the free weight section. I'd only ever do cardio and the classes. And eventually something in my head, a light bulb moment went off, because I used to run 10k every single day, because that's the only way I knew in my head what fitness meant. So religiously, I had this specific treadmill in the gym that I used just to do my 10k run every single day. And in the end, I started to get stress fractures in my shins from the constant pounding of the treadmill. And because I was so obsessive with running, I used to wear compression socks, and I used to get tape to tape my shins so that I can continue running. Because if I didn't run that day, I'll get so anxious, my anxiety levels would shoot straight high, that I had to run. And he was the person that got me away from the treadmill, and it was the best decision of my life. At the time I didn't know it, but when I finally got into the free weights area and started lifting weights, I never looked back. And there's something about lifting weights, especially as a female, that when you can lift something over and over again, and it starts to get easier and easier, and you keep progressing, that feeling of empowerment is so strong, it carries over into everything that you do in life. So where things are difficult, where you might have a challenging day at work, that mindset shift of, it's hard now, but you can do it, you can overcome that obstacle, carries over into everything in life. And it's made me a much stronger person, because the decisions I can make today is based on overcoming the pain and tiredness when you're in the gym trying to progress a movement.
Tell us about the moment you met your coach. How did that relationship change your direction?
This is a good one. So I remember at the gym I go to, people have always said to me, "Oh, Elkie, maybe you should think about doing a competition, doing a show." And at the time, this is years ago, I said, "No, that's not for me. You know, competing, let's leave it to the pros." I just did my own thing because I like being strong. So I just focused on sort of the big movements. I always like to squat, deadlift and bench. And there was one particular day, there's a guy called Anthony who goes to the gym that I go to. And he made one comment. He said to me, "Oh, if only you're so strong, you're so powerful, if only you consider just leaning down a little bit, get a little bit shredded, you'll have an amazing physique." And that comment, I thought, you know what? I'm going to do it. I'm going to get leaner. So it never crossed my mind to get leaner before. So once that thought came into my head, I went straight to the owner of the gym, Zach, I said to Zach, out of all the coaches at the gym, who would you recommend? Because at the time, competing never crossed my mind. I just wanted to get leaner. I said, I just want to do like a mini cut. I need someone to hold me accountable. So Zach said to me, go to Kamal, who's my current coach. And he said, Kamal's a really good coach. So I thought, okay, I've seen Kamal in the gym. And to be honest, I've never really spoken to him before because I was always a little bit scared of him. Because you can imagine, he's a big guy and he's very much, he keeps himself to himself. So I thought, okay, he's really scary. But if Zach said he's good, okay, I'm going to ask him. So I remember the day he was sitting at the bar and I tapped him on the shoulder. I said to him, do you have 2 minutes? I just want to ask you a few questions about coaching. And he's like really, really nice. And he took more than 2 minutes. He spent about 10 minutes with me. He showed me the system to use, what to expect, and the stages we go through in the diet phase. And I said to him, at the time I still wasn't sure, and I said, okay, let me think about it. And occasionally he would ask me, oh, if you need any help, just give me a shout, give me a WhatsApp, give me a text, I'm more than happy to help. And I was still umming and ahhing, mainly because you have to make that commitment to yourself to see things through. And I'm that type of person, if I'm going to commit, I'm going to commit. It took me a couple of weeks and I thought, you know what, let's just do it.
What went through your mind when he first suggested you should compete?
So when Kamal said to me, Elkie, you have the capacity to do a show. Still, I was like, I don't think so. I definitely don't think it's me. I just wanted to get a bit leaner for my birthday, which is in November. And I said, oh, let me think about it. And that's my way of saying, I don't really want to do it. And Kamal goes, okay, just have a little think. And then as the weeks went by and I was dropping body fat, I was getting leaner, he says to me, Elkie, you really should think you should do it. You're getting leaner. You can see your physique is changing. And I'm very indecisive. I thought, no, still not for me. And then he said to me, look, okay, we'll do this 8-week mini cut. We finish it and then we'll decide. I thought, okay. So that was kind of my safety bridge. I thought, okay, we'll just do the 8 weeks first. And then as the 8-week march was approaching, he said to me, look, I found you a show. It's in Birmingham. I went, you have? He goes, yes, it's for first timers. So perfect opportunity. No pressure. It's totally up to you, but you should do it. And then I thought, you know what? You only live once. And I'm just going to I've enjoyed the whole process of kind of discovering my capabilities and what I can do. I thought, you know what? Let's do it. Only live once. I wasn't going into this with the mindset I'm going to win. I'm just going to go into the mindset that I'm pushing myself out of my comfort zone.
What was the hardest part of competition prep and how did you push for it?
I think it's a mixture. It's the cardio. When the cardio starts to go up and you're tired and you're hungry, doing cardio is the last thing you want to do because you're tired as well. And the thing for me is when you're constantly hungry, you don't sleep very well. You would think that low calories, low energy, you sleep really well. For me, I'm totally the opposite. I just can't sleep. And then when you can't sleep and you're running low on that type of energy, and then you have to force yourself to do like an hour of cardio, that I found hard. Because every step you take on the cardio machine is like having lactic acid from the get-go. And that, in trying to push through that was difficult. And for me, I carried on working throughout the whole prep. And whatever energy you have to save it for work because you need a job to come back to. Competing is my choice. And I have to give my energy to my clients because they're paying me for a service. They're not paying me to do a competition prep. So I'm very aware that I need to be my best for my clients as well. So I think the mixture of working and cardio, I think that was the hardest part. The diet itself is challenging, but it's because you have such a specific goal in place. It's not too bad. You kind of get used to the hunger, but the physical and mental fatigue, that is the hardest part of prep.
What did earning your IFBB Pro card mean to you?
So I remember kind of the couple of days before going to Portugal, I was watching all these YouTube videos on like how to manifest things, and this guy said you have to truly believe in what you want. You have to truly believe that you can achieve, because if you don't truly believe it, it will never come to you. And I also tell my clients that if you're in the gym, you're trying to push through, you have to believe you can do it. Because once you put self-doubt into your head, you've lost half the battle. So in my head, I kept saying to myself, Elkie, you're a pro card winner. That card is yours. You're going to take that card home. And I kept saying it to myself over and over and over again in the days leading up to the show. And in my sleep, I was saying, you're a winner. You got this. You're a winner. You're taking that card home, no matter what. And that was my mantra for the few days leading up to the show. I just kept saying, you got it. We're winning. We're winning. And in my head, it might sound a bit arrogant. I knew it was a matter of time before I got my card, because I put everything into my prep, into my training. I was there. There was never a moment where I thought, I can't do this, I'm not doing it. So I knew it was just a matter of time before I'll get my pro card. But if I'm honest, I didn't expect it to come around this quickly. So for me to win, or to get my pro card in my second year of competing, that it's like the cherry on top. It just finishes everything that I've worked for. So getting the card, for me, it shows that any goal is achievable if you put your whole heart into it.
What are some of the sacrifices you made for this lifestyle?
So one of the major sacrifices I've made is not spending enough time with friends and family. That's a big sacrifice you have to make. And bodybuilding, competing is a very selfish sport, because it's all about you. It's all about your prep, the time you spend in the gym. And it's not just in the gym, you have to spend time in the recovery stage as well. So making sure that you're resting, that you can sleep as much as you can. So from when I first started, or even started my prep back in 2024 for my first show, things like socialising, holidays, going out with friends, they have definitely taken a back step. And I'm very fortunate that I have a very understanding family. Like my sons 100% support me. They know, because they have to. And they live with me, so they can see what I do on a daily basis. And my friends, they've supported me all the way, and they totally understand. So even if there's a social event, they know that I'm more than likely not going to be eating with them, or they'll try to involve me into things that doesn't revolve around food. We're not going out to restaurants. We try to do more kind of activity-based days, but definitely socialising friends and family, that's a sacrifice. That's the biggest sacrifice I've had to make during this time.
Where do you see yourself in the next 5 to 10 years in this sport, and what do you want to achieve?
So I was talking to my coach about this, because I'll be approaching 50 very soon. So the next 2 years, it's going to be hitting the big 50. So realistically speaking, so every prep I do, it just takes a little bit of toll on the body. And this prep, I've definitely had my fair share of niggles. I've had this ongoing knee issue that developed during prep. So for this year, for definite, I'm just focusing on health, focusing on training, focusing on trying to improve in the sense of my mobility, my strength, and maybe see if I can put on a little bit more muscle tone. And if I do compete, possibly compete in the Masters category, purely because any kind of competition there's always going to be pressure, but with the Masters it'd be more of a fair assessment, because obviously my recovery capacity is not the same as someone who is 20 or someone who is 30. So there's only so much that I can do, or my body will allow me to. But definitely the Masters category is one that I will be considering at pro level.
What's been your lowest point in bodybuilding and how did you push through?
I think the lowest point was this year, prepping for Portugal. I was about 5 weeks out, and I remember I was at the gym and I was training, and there was one particular movement. It was the split squat, where it wasn't particularly heavy, but I think because I was tired from all the cardio, there was just one rep where I felt something really sharp in my knee that made me go, oh, what was that? And I tested another rep out. I thought, okay, no, we're good, it's fine. The sharp pain's not there anymore. So I ignored it, and then I went to work after training. And that evening, my knee started to feel really uncomfortable, like really uncomfortable, to the point that I couldn't walk up the stairs properly. I was leaning all to my left side, my good side. And then when I looked down at my knee, it had swelled. It was like someone put like an orange on the side of my knee. It was totally swollen. I couldn't bend it at all. I thought, oh my God, I can't even bend my knee. How am I going to get on stage? And immediately I called my doctor the next day and I said, you have to do something about my knee because I need to compete. So we got an ultrasound down on my knee and there's loads of fluid. And he drained, that day he drained 3 syringes of fluid from my knee. He said my knee's inflamed, there might be damage to the tendon, the ligament, I probably need an MRI scan. And I panicked. I thought, okay, I need to use my knee because my competition's in 5 weeks' time. So he had a cortisone injection straight into my knee, but he did say to me, you have to be very careful because it's such a powerful injection. Whatever caused the issue, it can give you a false sense of security. So I immediately changed my training. I took the pressure off the knee by not doing single leg movements. We reduced the weight, increased the reps, and I focused more on mobility, more stretching. And thankfully, about 2 weeks later, the swelling started to go away and I could actually tense my leg again. So those 2 weeks was a real kind of like, my anxiety was really high because I thought, okay, I've invested all this time into this prep, and if I'm not going to stage, what now? But it all happened. I pulled through, knee was fine, made it to stage, no problem.
Lastly, before we wrap up, do you have any advice you want to give to anyone who's looking to start their fitness journey?
There will never, ever be the perfect moment to start because the perfect moment is now. There's always going to be an event, there's always going to be a birthday, anniversary, a social event. So if you can start your journey now and incorporate all those things into your lifestyle, you will have a very rewarding journey. Age is also not another reason not to start. If you think I'll be hitting 50 in 2 years, and most of my accomplishments I've made in the last 5-6 years, age is only a mental barrier. You can do anything as long as you put your mind to it. You are consistent, you will achieve a lot. Thank you so much for watching my video. If you have any questions, you can leave them below in the comments section or you can reach out to me on Instagram.